Hi everybody, Chris Courtney here, New Pragmatic. So glad to have you along. I am super excited for today's edition of the live stream because we get to dive into Figma plugins, and Figma plugins are geeky cool. If you're not aware, Figma, the web browser-based design tool that is available for pretty much any platform that has an internet browser. Last Friday, they released a plethora of plugins that infinitely expands the usefulness of their platform. I can't begin to fathom. I'm actually struggling to fathom what it was like to use Figma prior to last Friday. It's only been less than, I don't know, today's a Tuesday, August 1st, I believe. Maybe it wasn't August 1st. Whatever it was less than a week ago. Less than a week ago, Figma didn't have plugins. Now Figma has plugins. I've been a fan of Figma. I've been watching Figma since like 2016. I converted an entire design program over to Figma in 2017. I am been a big fan of Figma for a long time. This is the biggest evolutionary leap that I've seen them take. And they've taken several evolutionary leaps along the way. So without further ado, I'm going to stop blathering and let's just get right to it. Oh, hey, Pankeel. Pankeel's back in it. I'm going to jump right into this. One thing I want to mention, I had my good friend VG here from, there's VG, from Juan Ifra asked that I mention that August 19th and 20th, I will be in Bangalore, India for the news design print and digital sessions. We're going to be going over a ton of material, so if you were picking up on this from India, know that Juan Ifra Academy is having me out to Bangalore then for 2 days of diving into literally everything. But I will be doing some print design. I will be doing some digital design. I will be doing a lot of news design, so a lot of charts, a lot of there's going to be one session that I'm really excited about that's on fake news and fake charts and how to look at data and understand if somebody's trying to lie with data. That's not something I typically teach in like the boot camp land, but something that's very core to who I've always been as a digital journalist. So without further ado, thank you for the reminder, VG, on that. Juan Ifra Academy, 19th and 20th of August. That's just a couple of weeks away. So feel free to go to events.juanifra.org and sign right on up. From there, you may recognize this. This is the spreadsheet from yesterday. We're going to come back to this. As you can see, I've expanded it quite a bit. I've done a few things here, mainly because of the we use this spreadsheet in another session on Glide apps, and today in this session we're going to use it with Figma plugins, and it's really amazing to me how the versatility of a damn spreadsheet is showing up in multiple sessions. There may even be more of them later this week, but the versatility of a spreadsheet, we're going to see how that comes into play today. So let's go ahead and jump into Figma. I'm just going to start from scratch over here. I wanted to start with a clean slate today. So let's go ahead. I've opened Figma, and for those of you unfamiliar, I shouldn't assume that just everybody knows what Figma is, but Figma.com, as you can see, for me, because I'm already logged in, it's going right to the home page or right to my dashboard. So I'm going to go ahead and open an incognito window so that I can start you off right. So Figma is a design platform, browser-based, works on everything, and is just really amazing. I'm not going to dive into too much of how to set up your Figma account. I've got that in other videos on the YouTubes. So check that out. Go subscribe to the new Pragmatic YouTube channel. But if you're really interested in Figma, this is a great session for you, because we're going to be diving into a little thing called plugins. And as you can see, I'm on the browser version right now. Browser version of Figma. If I slide over here, I'm in the desktop version of Figma. Exact same situation. So I'm going to focus on using my desktop version of Figma. It's just a little easier for me to operate with. But just know that everything I'm going to be showing you is like a one-to-one between the browser and the desktop version. Let's talk about plugins. Because Thule, hi Thule. Oh, Pankeel's in there. Oh, they're just talking to each other in the YouTube channel. Figma plugins are absolutely amazing. I'm going to be focusing on several today, and as you can see, there's a lot up here that's featured. And honestly, this featured panel actually has several of them that I want to talk about today. If I go too long, because I'm only going to go for an hour today, if I go too long and I can't get to certain ones, because I literally have a sketched out list of plugins that I want to get to today, I'll do another one tomorrow, because it's worth it. It's just absolutely worth it. This is as I said just a moment ago, this is the biggest advance move forward that Figma has shown us since their launch. I believe it's since their launch. Just biggest leap forward. And yes, I am biased. I have a couple of students that work for Figma now, or former students. They're designers now. They're designers. They're not students. They're designers. Really, you're all designers. But I am a little biased. But fact of the matter is, Figma works on any machine, and I feel like it's a great equalizer. There's a lot of people who can't afford $2,000 Macintoshes, and they need a Windows machine. Windows machines, by the way, pretty good. They need a Windows machine, and Figma works on that. I wish the same could be said for Sketch, but I can't do that. So today, I'm going to jump into a few of my favorite new plugins. There's a couple of plugins that really address common issues, and one of the issues that I've seen happen over and over again. I'm just going to start with just a blank slate here, so that we can all start from scratch. I'm going to go ahead and grab a frame, and I'll grab a iPhone X frame and just put it up there. All right, so here we are. We have our iPhone X frame. Now, if I go ahead and draw a rectangle into that frame, great, we've got a gray rectangle. Woohoo, fantastic. I want to go ahead and access our first plugin, but I want to talk specifically about how we typically handle maps when it comes to Figma prototypes. Right now, or actually prior to last Friday, every time you did a Figma prototype with some sort of map, I guarantee we all did some variation of this. We went to I'm gonna just type in Mumbai, because I know Pankil is watching. I'll do Mumbai map, and then I'll hop down here to Google Maps, and then I will do some variation. I'll zoom in just a little bit, and I'll come in, I'll screenshot what I need, and then I'll drop it in, I'll place image, and voila, I've got my Mumbai map, right? Kind of hacky. There's no customization here. I just have whatever was showing up in Google. That's what's here. There is, in fact, a better way to do this. I'm going to go ahead and delete that image away. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to select our rectangle, and I just want to clean this up a little bit. Mumbai fake. And then this will be Mumbai map. So Mumbai fake, Mumbai map. Here, I'm going to go ahead and there's a couple of different ways that you can access plugins. One, you could come up here to the top, and this is actually one of the few ways that the desktop version is different than the browser version. I could come to plugins, and I could come down to Map Sickle. And Map Sickle, it says open Map Sickle or refresh selected map. There is no map that is selected, so I will open Map Sickle. The other way you would do it is control click, and you could come down to plugins, and you can see that they're here as well. So I'm going to open Map Sickle. And Map Sickle is a Mapbox plugin. For those of you that are unfamiliar with Mapbox, and I think that it is helpful for us to go ahead and get that out of the way, let's come over to Mapbox, say hi. I don't know why the hello video was coming up, but here's Mapbox. Mapbox is a way to really pull in a plethora of mapping information into your applications. You will need to go ahead and create an account to utilize this plugin, and that's because there's a token that needs to be passed between Mapsicle and Figma. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come up here and let's see here. I'm going to reset the access token so that this looks like what you would experience when you first access Mapsicle. There was a funny story. The creator of Mapsicle wasn't sure what to call Mapsicle, and he had like a few minutes before the submission deadline was up, so he just pulled Mapsicle out of the sky. So if you're wondering why it's called Mapsicle, there you are. I'm guessing he likes popsicles. Anyway, so right now it says, please provide your own access token from Mapbox, and it asks us to set the token. This is because the creator of this is utilizing his own access token that's open really for everybody to utilize. He can revoke that at any time, by the way. But we need to set the token. So to set the token, we have to get our token from Mapbox. So I'm going to click this, and it will automatically trigger. It looks like it's triggering Firefox, so it's opening that over here. There we are. I will just make that full screen so it doesn't bring up my OBS control panel again. But Mapbox is opening, and here are the access tokens. I have an access token here. I'm not overtly worried about you taking it. I can reset it at any time. I can actually just create a new access token if I want to. I will go back though. This is where you get your token. It is actually part of your Mapbox account. So I will copy this in, come back over, paste it in, and that sets the token. Now, right away, you may be saying to yourself, well, Chris, we want it Mumbai, not San Francisco. Well, that's okay. I'll just type in Mumbai, and there's Mumbai Bazaar Factory Outlet and a lot of things there in California. I'm just going to type in Mumbai, and we'll take the nice little animation over to India. And now, I know that there's this really cool area called where Bollywood is. It's called Juhu. I believe that's the area I'm looking for. So I'm going to come over here to Juhu Beach, and yeah, there we go. So Juhu Beach. That's where all the hip kids hang out, or at least that's what I've been told. So I'm over here in Juhu, and I'm going to go ahead and say create map. And now I have a map of Juhu Beach. Now it made several copies of that, which is odd, but there we go. So now I have my map of Juhu Beach. What's interesting is that that isn't the, you're not set to merely have this default view. You can actually customize it quite a bit. So I'm going to come in, I'm going to go back down to my plugins, and I'm going to say, hey, you know what? I didn't necessarily want that. And actually, this might be where refresh map comes back in. So if I say refresh selected map, no, that did not work. So I'll go back to Juhu, and it should pull me directly to Juhu Beach now this time. And let's see if it does. It does pretty good job of it, actually. So here's Juhu. I'm going to pinch and zoom to get us zoomed in there a bit more. Yeah, there's Juhu Beach. Now I can change the style of this. So if I went outdoors, gives you that little slightly different view. Light, go dark. We can actually pull in a satellite view. So if you want to know what that area is really like, and we can also pull in satellite plus streets, so you have the streets and information over the top of it. There are times where you want something a little more customized than this. If I wanted to add a custom style, it has this panel that says enter the URL to your custom style below. That was a bit confusing for me when I first was trying to customize these maps, which, by the way, is very important for news organizations that might want to do something with Mapbox and Figma. A lot of news organizations have their own graphical styles. It says enter the URL to your custom style below, and you might be wondering, well, what the hell is that? That's where we need to go back over to Mapbox. So over here in Mapbox, I'm going to go ahead and jump into Studio. So you have your account. Studio is just a layer below that. And in Studio, this is where you can create your own styles. So I have MP Update, which I can go in and look at. And then this is the Mapbox basic template. I want to create a new style. And you get an opportunity to start with a template. It says choose your own color. So if I wanted to start with something that was monochromatic, and then I went to say, let's make it monochromatic royal for whatever reason, or golden, or midnight. There's a lot of customization that you can make. I have a New Pragmatic is my brand, obviously. So if I wanted to come over and really get to that quickly, I would probably just go back to my recents. I'll just grab something out of the social media work. I have this really messy canvas that has just a ton of information on it. But I'll grab like the green from this one, and the background for that is there. So I can come back to this and I can say, hey, you know what? I want that to be my New Pragmatic green instead. And now I've created a starting point for this customized New Pragmatic green map. The customization isn't just related to color, and this is really an important piece when you're considering mapping. So often, what you're really trying to do is determine what should be showing up on that map. This monochrome is actually pretty difficult to see. I want to lighten it up quite a bit. So I'm going to lighten up simple use. I want to lighten up the land as well. And because of that, I also want to come in and lighten up, let's see, the road network here. Those are the labels. I'm pretty sure that this is a place layer. So here, I can turn these layers off if I want to. Like I can turn off like settlement subdivisions. I can take those out. I can take out a lot of that's airports. This road label, if I wanted to take out the road label, I can make all the roads go away. The big thing that I want to do is I want to change those. Those roads. The roads are really dark right now. So if I wanted to make them a little nicer, I could. And also, now that you're looking at the the settlement labels. Looks like there's a stroke around them. Halo color, yeah. I don't like that halo. I don't like the halo at all. So I could probably change that to none. And looked like that. Oh, there's also a halo blur, so I could, if I take that to none, that probably would get rid of it, and it didn't. That's odd. Let's take a look at this subdivision. I think that okay, so the subdivisions are off. Oh, and I see the other label here, I think is just below that. Well, as I was saying, there's a number of different ways that you can come through and customize these. The big thing I do not want to keep those. I do not want to keep those the way they are. That typography is. Ooh, and the buildings. That's not great. Let's hide buildings. Let's hide building outlines too. This is what I mean by there could be a lot of layers of information that are in here on these maps, and you want to customize these once and not you don't have to do them over and over again. Let's go ahead and find that's bridges. I bet this surface road is what we're looking at. As you can see, surface road. Well, let's just hide those. Pedestrian street case. Looks like that's just road. Okay, so this is the actual roads themselves. So you can kind of see how when I turn those off, minor. So if I turn primary off, begin to see a lot of the bigger roads disappear. Secondary, yeah. So you get to see, you get an idea of how these maps are created and the level of detail that you can go into. I really want the road label though, and ooh, that is difficult to read. Let's make this a lot easier. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so now we're getting something that is a lot easier to read. It takes some time to go through and find all the little details. There's so much customization that is possible with Mapbox. I still want to. There's some things that I really dislike. Another thing that you'll notice is that when the zoom level changes, like, do you see how the freeway here is a dark green, but once you go up to the zoom level, it modifies itself to match the other roads. That's also something that you can do. But you can actually save this as a view. So this style is just called monochrome for now, but I can call it NP monochrome. And by no means am I saying that this is what I would consider to be a finished style, but it is something that you can do to allow your brand to leverage something like Mapbox and not have to go with the just typical everyday version that you find on Google. So I'm going to go ahead and publish this so that we have it. So there's where we started at, and here's where we ended up. We'll go ahead and publish it. And now I'll close this and I'll come back out the styles. Now you can see I have MP monochrome. Well, this brings me back to that. So how do I connect this to our map? And that is where you come down and get the style URL. Not the easiest thing to find. If you're not familiar with the platform, it's not easy to find. But it is something that makes this infinitely more powerful because I can plug this in, hit submit, and suddenly Juhu Beach now has the map style that I created just by looking at San Francisco, and it applied it. Another really cool thing is I can actually change the pitch on this to, if I change this to 100, I can begin to make this 3D and move around the orientation of what I'm showing. So I'm going to go ahead and say create map now. And now you get a entirely different perspective on the Juhu Beach map. But the important thing to realize here is that there is a vast difference between just pulling in a screenshot from Google, being able to pull in something far more specific from Mapbox and doing it with Mapsicle, and also being able to customize and create a view that is unique to your brand or your organization by applying a custom style through Mapbox. The Mapbox Mapsicle combination is really powerful, and it's something that I think with enough guidance. And what I would say here is that if you have a style book that's already established, you're going to be a lot more successful just creating something out of the box. I have other styles, and I'll show you one of those now. If I come back through and I say, let's Map Sickle, let's refresh that map. Let's come back to Juhu Beach. And now instead of using that other style that is really just it's just straight up it's just simple Mapbox, I'm going to come down and say custom style, and then now I'll come over to my Studio app and I will grab this update, which I think is a little more appropriate for mapping. I'll hit submit, and what you'll see is that now what I've really done is I've lightly touched the colorization. I've changed up the typography to match my branding. And when you look at these side by side, it's a little easier to tell what is actually changed. You can see the typography's changed, the neighborhoods have changed, although we did not have the neighborhoods on that one. The water's a little less like aqua. And I think that this overall, I also hid some other layers, like there's not, there isn't any, like Mumbai Fun Inn and the JW Marriott aren't showing up in the second version. So you get an idea of some of the customization that's available to you just through a combination of Mapsicle and Mapbox. What I want to do now is I want to jump into something that we kind of touched on yesterday, and to do this I'm going to open up a page that has been worked on a bit, and there's a lot of leftover artifacts here that we do not need. This has been worked on a bit, so I'm going to come over here to a screen that has something that should look familiar to you. Yesterday we were working with in another video with Glide, we were working with list views. And one of the things that we were doing was we were pulling in customized information. That customized information required a spreadsheet to already be populated. You don't have to actually have a spreadsheet to begin diversifying up your data. One of the issues that I've always seen with prototypes is that it's very difficult for people to come up with real names, real places, real things when they're not really set up to think in those terms. A lot of times we end up just typing in the names of our friends and family members, and what we lack is an understanding of the real life size of people's names, or the names of bands, or the names of dishes. So often we design for really small spaces, and we write names or things that just fit in that space, and what we really need is like legit information. This is where something like Content Reel comes in. So I'm going to go to another plugin. This is Content Reel. Content Reel is, if I remember this correctly, is built by Microsoft, and it allows us to pull in text, people. Now, this part is coming. Images for the public version are coming soon. It's not ready yet. You can also pull in icons, and this is a little bit of information. But let's go to the about. Yes, it is Microsoft that produced Content Reel. This is version 1.0. I expect it will get better, but I do think it's pretty good. One of the things that I love about it is the names aspect. So you can adjust the names by clicking on the three dots, and it gives you the ability to say, hey, I want this to be male and female, or male or female. I want this to be English, French, or Spanish. I could say that I want this to be just first names and last names, just a comma. So let's go ahead and flip that around. So let's apply it. And did I not select? Oh, yes, it did apply. So there's Kristen Flores. To have this take over all of them, you would want to select all the elements that you want Content Reel to apply to. Control click. I'm going to go to Content Reel, names, close, and there I have my diversified list of names. This is also available for other bits of information as well. So I'm going to grab all the items tagged employer. Gregory Murphy there. Sorry about that, Gregory. So I've grabbed employer. And now I'm going to come back to Content Reel. And let's put something else in there. This could be... I think the email one is hard because a lot of emails are people's names, and if it doesn't always match up. So if you're working on Content Reel and you're part of the Microsoft team, that might be something to consider. Making Content Reel somehow match up the email with the name that's above it, or and maybe that's even possible if I select those two things together. But that always doesn't work. I do think like usernames works pretty well. So if I put in usernames, you can see that Silver Duck, and if I click it again, it changes. If I put in company names, L'Oreal is the only one that has given me an issue, and it may just be a specific font that I selected. So I have SF Pro Text. So this is meant to be an iOS app, so that's why San Francisco is selected. Numbers. Numbers is like this really it would only work for like e-commerce purchases, things like that. Phone numbers is fine. I think that's a fine use. Interesting, U.S. addresses. You can also switch it to. You can also minimize this. So if I said I only wanted the city-state, looks like I need a comma in there as well. So let's turn on the comma, and let's put the comma between the city and the state, and there you go. That Little Rock, Vermont. That's interesting. It's Louisville, West Virginia. That's another thing that I have not seen prior to now, is the pairing of places that don't actually sound like places. It seems like if you were to have if you have state selected, it could only be a certain number of towns that are within that state. But again, this is randomized data. This is we should not be getting overtly picky about the information that's showing up in here, because there's information showing up in here, which is so great. As you can see, the options available to you are names, phone number, U.S. addresses, and these things are all customizable. So it looks like you can actually change the format of the phone number. Let's come back through. We've seen addresses. Let's look at this. So you can add currency as well. Would be great to see, would be fantastic to see currency beyond this US dollars. The pound comes in, the euro comes in, rupees, yuan. There's a lot of options there, and it seems like that would be really easy to add if I was making a 2.0 or 1.1 update. Let's take a look at URLs. Actually, that it looks like only numbers, US addresses, phone numbers, and names are customizable. But that's really cool because, like, if I was building something and I was trying to make this, let's just say I had a Hispanic client, the ability to come through, and actually I have a friend that has a database company that works out of they're based in Mexico. If I came through and I gave them US names when I could just flip this to Spanish and say apply, that's going to feel a lot more legitimate to that client than Bruce and Pearl showing up in the names list. So I think it's really, really helpful. I think it helps us think about, that's the other thing I was noticing yesterday. Like, I would never, if I hit this Spanish names thing a few times, at some point I will trip over some really long names that I don't necessarily know that I would think of immediately because I don't have a Spanish name. It's very common to have three names. Like there's Da that pops up a lot here, and I think it's helpful to understand that there are cultures where two names doesn't nearly cover the span that you would encounter, and it's a small thing, but I think it's an important thing. I am really excited for this people tab because if I can come in, having a randomized database of people, I think is helpful. So often we go and when we pull stock images and whatnot for things like this, we pull what we recognize, and I think that's unfortunate because we have to remember that our clients and their customers are very diverse, and we should reflect that. We should reflect that back to them, especially here in the United States. There are other places in the world where it's not as diverse, but if you're a U.S. based designer, you really should be reflecting a very diverse culture. The other thing that I wanted to look at, though, was we've covered what happens and how to work with these things if you don't have a big spreadsheet full of data. But what if you did? What if you did have a spreadsheet of data? What if you had a spreadsheet that looks kind of like this? This I used in a session on Glide apps. And I've tweaked it a little bit since then because there are some things that I recognize. Not everybody has a Twitter profile, but everybody here had a LinkedIn profile because everybody's looking for, or as you can see, gainfully employed. So these are all former students in some capacity. They live in a lot of different locations. But if you were to pull this information in prior to last week, you would have had to copy paste all this crap in, and that's not necessary anymore because we have a Figma plugin called Google Sheets Sync, and Google Sheets Sync works like so. And I'm just going to show you because it's fantastic. What you have to do is it's not so much what's actually showing up here. It's what you've actually named the element. And as you can see, I have some hashtags here, which probably seems like an odd thing to throw into a naming convention. I have a hashtag name, hashtag employer, and hashtag photo. So if I selected just these first three, and I control clicked to get myself down to plugins, and I hit Google Sheets Sync, it's going to ask me, well, actually, I want to delete that. It says enter sheets shareable link here. This is important, and I deleted it away because I want to make sure that you saw it. You have to go back over to your Google Sheet that you want to derive information from, hit share, and get that shareable link. So the shareable link, they only need to view the data. They don't have to edit it. So if I grab that shareable link and we come back over and paste it in, and I hit sync, it's working its magic. What's interesting to me is that, well, there's a couple of things that are interesting to me. I only grabbed this first bit of information, but it placed everything on for the entire page as you go all the way down. For some reason, this group didn't take, and I'm not necessarily sure why that is. The other thing that's very interesting to me about this Google Sheets sync is that it did not keep all the data together. So here's a few things that I'll tell you. That's not Pankeel. Pankeel, if you're watching along on YouTube, Pankeel's mugshot is right there. That is Darren. That is clearly not Karen. That is Steven. That's Amy. That is not Sam. That is Lily. That's not Zoe. So what happened? And this is where I'm working through this with you. So I want to try to group these and see if that has any impact on how these are processed. Because what I should see, I've just grouped these three. All right, I've grouped Zoe, Sam, and Pankeel. The information should stay the same, or if it updates randomly, I guess it could. Let's come back over and look at this though. As you can see, Zoe, Sam, and Pankeel are 2, 3, 4 in this list. So it's loading from top to bottom. What I do not know is why it's loading these out of order. So let's just see what happens here. Let's go ahead and re-update this. And for this, I'm just going to grab split bill, and I'm just going to apply the plugin to the page. Sync. And that did not adjust anything. So now I'm just going to grab these three. I say plugins, Google Sheet Sync. And it did the same thing. So that's very interesting. I'm going to unhook it. I'm just curious if I unhook these. And again, we're discovering these little bugs together. I think it's helpful for you to be able to see what's happening, because I could totally see you working on this on your own and it not lining up, and those images coming in. You're like, oh, I must have done something wrong. No, you didn't do anything wrong, because the way this works is you name the element with the column that you want it to appear in. So this is photo, employer name, etc. So I'm going to come through. I'm going to group these three together. And my thought here is that because I didn't have these grouped together before, maybe that's why it did the randomization of the photos. So now I'm going to just grab these three. I'm going to hit the plugin, and let's see what happens. Filled them all out, and Zoe, it's so weird. It consistently pulls them in in the wrong order. So I have a thought, and I'm gonna Apple Z this. I'm gonna come back over the spreadsheet, and I'm gonna move column F down. And just to make sure that I'm not losing my mind, I'm gonna open this up just to make sure that's Zoe. Yeah, okay, so that's Zoe. Zoe is lined up with her employer and her name, so there she is. And if I wanted to change this, like this is going to be Zoe. If I wanted to change this from employer, I could type in city. I do believe that city is the name of that column. No, it's location. So city wouldn't work, but location would. So for Zoe, she has the location of Seattle. When I pull this in again, what I'm looking to see happen is I'm looking to see if Zoe's location doesn't show up with her image as well. So I'm going to come through Google Sheets Sync. There's Zoe. Now, oh, that's so interesting. This probably isn't interesting to anybody else, but as I come through, what is so funny is these aren't getting images at all. What is funny to me is it says Seattle here, and then the first element in okay, I have a thought. I'm going to simplify this because we're just we're tweaking it, right? We're tweaking it. We're trying to see why it's breaking, where it's breaking. So I'm going to delete this away. Sorry, Amanda. Sorry, Ukalux. Sorry, Cody. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to limit my spreadsheet to just these 8 people. All right. Because what I'm seeing happen here is the ordering. Like this is Seattle, but Microsoft is now associated with Sam, where she's actually at Vox. Pankil is at Upgrad, who is now at, Karen is at Portland. So it's bumping everything down. My curiosity here is do you have to have the exact same number of rows as you have data that can be imported? That's my suspicion. So I've got, let's see, the last one here is Brianna. So I'm gonna just grab everything here. I hate to do this, but we're gonna grab everything here. I'm gonna delete it. I'm gonna make a new sheet just so I don't lose that information. I'll paste it there. All right, so sheet 3, whatever. So now I have these students that are here. Will they input in order? That's the trick. So I'm going to save it. I'm going to come back over. I'm going to change Zoe back to employer instead of location. And now we will do the bill again. Plugins, Google Sheet Sync. Yep. And well, that didn't work at all. So I'm gonna undo all of this because now I'm curious if is it doing this because all that data was still there? So I need 8. So I'm gonna come down to here. I'm gonna delete everything up to Gilda. Looks like everything up to Gilda. So I'll delete those. Okay. And now I just have a sneaky suspicion that it's gonna hold the same exact. It's gonna hold the same exact. Oh, and I know what I'll do. I will switch the order of this so that we have sort from. Okay, so this is A to Z. So now Ben Howard should show up first. The reason I'm doing this is I'm trying to reset the reference points for all this. I'm also going to grab the shareable link again. So now when we come back through, we'll say plugins, Google Sheet Sync, delete, save it, sync it. And where did the image? Because images go. So this time we didn't get images. I wonder why. So let's go ahead and sync again. That is really bizarre that we let's yeah, so my gut says that we've tripped across a bug, and I just want to make sure that Ben Howard is here at the top. Former student, rockstar Ben Howard. There he is. All right, so we've got that. Seems logical. I'm just going to ungroup that just because I want to make sure. It's just odd that we would get images before and we don't get images now. Google Sheets sync it up. It's not taking it. So something's up. Something's up with Google Sheets. I wish I could tell you that I knew exactly why it was doing that. I do know that yesterday, when I pulled this in the first time, oh my goodness, look at that. Okay, so that explains where our images are going. And it's in perfect order. I'm going to delete that away. That could have been what was tripping us up. I did have some other elements on this canvas, not in this section, but on this canvas. I had some other elements that I had pulled off to the side. And that would explain, if I sync this again. Oh, that's exactly what happened. That's exactly what happened. Although, man, I would not have in a million years thought that was what was occurring. So now all the images are matched up. What happened? What happened, Chris? Well, I want to show you what happened. So I'm gonna back up, and I'm gonna pull these magical elements that I had off to the side, and I had them off to the side for a reason. This was my test batch that I was going to be working with. Okay? And as you can see, everything was lining up perfectly in this test version. And oddly enough, Zoe wasn't showing up because I only had 7 and I have 8. So when I pulled those away, let's go ahead and make enough for overflow. Copy paste. I'm going to drag those down. Another thing I love about Figma are these guides. Everybody's got them now, but that wasn't always the case. It just makes it really easy to place. I need 9. There we go. All right, so now when I come through, I've got plenty. So I'm going to come over and I'm going to grab my information from the other sheet, and I will paste it in right here. I'm going to go ahead and sort this again. So we're going to sort A to Z. So Amanda, Amy, and Amy are at the top. There's some Google Sheet foo that we can use to fix that. Let's go ahead and connect that now. So to do that, we're going to come in and say plugin Google Sheets sync it. It's going to pull all in order. And no, it didn't. Amy. That's all there. Oh, now I totally see what happened. So we changed location and photo. The sheet over here, we had moved this column up. So I need to move that column. Sorry. We'd move this column up. I need to move this column back. So it's at the end. Then I need to pull it over. I basically broke my sheet when I pulled that information back over. There it is. So now it's all back together. I will go ahead and sort it again. I should have totally seen that my photos and my locations were mixed up. So I'll save it. We'll come back over. We will do it one more time. Google Sheets sync. Oddly enough, Google Sheets the entire time was doing exactly what it was supposed to do. I just had an element off to the side. Yes, Pankill, that's a great question. Shouldn't it be frame specific? Apparently not. So that is something that I'm really glad. I like to trip over these things. And these sessions are really meant to be more hacky. We're all just hacking around. We're trying to figure out the tool and how it works. You can't apparently have an element off somewhere else on the canvas that matches the tagging, because if you do, boom, it's going to blow up on you. I'm interested to do some more testing with that, but it's definitely something to look out for, because by just having, we'll just do it again really quickly. Here's Amanda Dyson. I'm going to throw one Amanda Dyson off to the side, and it's going to throw the order of everything out. So let's go ahead and do it right now. Let's see it in action. Google Sheets, sync it. And now for some reason, Janice is over here. And I'm going to bet that Janice in the spreadsheet is after Gino. Let's look. And she is. No, Ian's after Gino. So is there an Ian down here too? Oh yes, Ian's right there. Oh man. Wow. Okay, these are the buggy little things that I really like to get into and discover, so that you don't feel like you're on an island when it happens to you. Oddly enough, we're out of time. An hour, poof. So we covered Mapbox and how to customize your Mapbox views to match your branding, and then how to pull that into your design. So that was actually over here on this other page. We did like 4 different map boxes. We jumped into content reel. Basically, I'll just grab this right here and I'll say, hey, Jack and Chan. I'm just going to really quickly go down to the content reel, plug in content reel. Hey, you know what? I want a company, Gillette. There you go. It's easy. It's very easy to pull in a plethora of information. Nice folks over at Microsoft book content reel for you. And then we stumbled, fumbled, farted, and fell over our feet using Google Sheet. Google Sheet is doing exactly what we wanted it to do, but instead of applying just to the frame, it was applying to the entire Figma canvas. Very powerful tool, very cool, something to look out for there when you're working through with Figma. So I don't know about you, but I feel like tomorrow is going to be Figma plugins round 2, so that we can jump into some of these other ones. Some of the other ones include Stark, Autoflow, Marvell. So with that, I will bid you adieu. If you have any questions, I invite you to jump into the Discord channel. Our Discord community is alive and kicking. It's optimizing for the people at the moment. But you can join the Discord channel. All you have to do is apply for early access. Early access is available to everybody who wants to be part. There's no cost, no fee to join the Discord channel. All you have to do is request access, and you can do that right over here at newpragmatic.com. Right here. So, without further ado, my name is Chris Courtney. It is awesome having all of you along for this journey as we jump through all these new tools. Every day I learn something new when I'm working with you. That's why I do it. And I hope to see you all again here tomorrow for Figma Plugins Part 2. We'll talk then. Take care.